Howdy all my Lex Lives. I think it's time we play a little 7 Days to Die. Alright. Uh, so we came back to, I came back here to fix my sniper rifle since I had found a few parts for it in that town that I wound up in. I gotta say, I came away with 310 sniper rifles, so not bad. Not bad at all. You know what, though? I do need a new spiked club. See, the one I've got is... Better check my skill points, see. Nope, weaponsmithing, still down. Alright. So let's go ahead and craft up a new one of those. But I think other than that, I am... Well, I better check my bike. Make sure I've got the trunk on that unloaded. It's pretty unloaded. Well, I guess some of these are parts for things. So let's move some of this out of there. So I think last episode I said I was hoping that we were going to get to play some D&D. I hadn't done that in a while, and we did. We ended up playing two different sessions of D&D. So got a little bit to talk about from that, I guess. Alright, so I am going to want to go south west this time, it looks like. Yeah, southwest. So, yeah, we had a Tuesday night session, which we don't normally have, and, but they decided they wanted to make up for the day we missed last week. And when we ended last week, we had wiped out most of a spire tower thing full of what were called the Feather Gale Knights, and they turned out to be part of an evil cult. They wanted to sacrifice us by throwing us off top of their tower. Wasn't really happy with that arrangement, so we ended up killing almost all of them. And strangely for us, we kept one as a prisoner because she seemed nice, and so we wound up knocking her out. And then at the very end of the session, the DM says to us that all the flying mounts that the knights had have scattered, except for 2 hippogriffs, which are horse eagles, or eagle horses, whichever direction you want to go with it. And so I had asked if we could double up, and he said no. So, so then we had a 2-week gap, basically, between sessions. And so I was like, man, what can we do? What can we do? I don't want to go all the way back to town on foot, taking this woman as a hostage. Not hostage, but a prisoner, in case we're able to deprogram her or whatever. Didn't I see there was a... Yeah, there it is. I was going to say, I thought I saw a road to the south here. Where did it go? Oh man, that road just ends and dumps right off into the lake. Oh, it doesn't end, it just goes the other direction. Turning. I want to take this road. And so I was talking with the other guy we play with, our sorcerer, and I'm like, dude, maybe we can just wait at the tower, and one of us can take the prisoner to town, and that way we don't have to go to town, and we can continue exploring the valley. And he's like, yeah, that's a great idea. I'm like, alright, that's what we'll do. when the session starts. And because we'd already ridden the hippogriffs, we used them to fight a monster the previous session. So it wasn't like we hadn't ridden on them before and that they didn't know who we were. So then we start our new session. And one of the things our DM likes to say is, I've got to retcon something. And then he goes back and changes things that have already happened, usually to our detriment. It's rare that his changes are in our favor. And we pretty much expect several of those to happen every session. And so we get started, and now he's had 2 weeks to prepare, and he sits down with nothing ready to go. And so we get started finally. He's like, okay, but as we get started here, I gotta retcon something. I'm like, oh, great. And he says, so last week at the end of the session, I said there were 2 hippogriffs, but I'm changing that. My guy went down and let him go free. I'm like, no, you didn't. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna have my guy have gone down and freed them. Because, ooh, did you see that thing got all weird and turned into the thing there for a second and whipped its tentacle at me? I saw that weird deer. And so there was a small argument between me and the DM. Not really an argument, but me just saying I need to use one of those hippogriffs, and then him saying that they weren't trained as mounts and the magic was the only reason. And I'm like, yeah, but I thought hippogriffs could be trained as mounts. I thought we discussed that last week. He's like, sure, they can be trained as mounts. I'm like, well, we've already ridden on them once, so couldn't we just try and see if they're still rideable for us, since, you know, we've used them as mounts once before? Because he's trying to say that they were only tameable for the feather gales, but if we rode them in combat in the air, I feel like that gives us some experience on using them as mounts. And oh, hello, magically appearing dog. Oh, hey, you know what? I made a new one of these, and I switched to it. So we go back and forth on it a little bit, and then he finally capitulates to a couple of rolls, which is one of the things that drives me crazy and plays into a later comment by him when he said he lets us roll too much. And I mean, the game is based off of dice rolls, so I don't like it when my DM says I let you roll too often. All that means is that he feels he's letting us do things too often. Which he probably thinks that way, it feels like, because it feels like he just wants to tell us what happened and call it good and not let us actually interact half the time. But, so I roll really high on my animal handling check. So he says I'm able to calm the animal down, but then because none of us can speak animal, I don't know why we have to speak to this horse, basically. Horse with wings. It's kind of like a Pegasus, but with an eagle head on it. And so yeah, we have to, you know, that's like the 3rd time since I've started this that I have heard lightning. I don't know what's happening, but I don't like it. In fact, I need to, I don't have enough grass on me. Let's get some grass here real quick. So, he finally allows us to send one of the lighter people. I didn't expect him to be able to send my my cleric, because my cleric is the largest creature in the group and wears the heaviest armor. So I wasn't expecting to send him or anything. I don't know, the dude is like, you can't send your cleric. I'm like, okay, I didn't say I wanted to send my cleric. I didn't expect to be able to send my cleric. So... Anyways, we got rid of the prisoner without having to go back to town. Okay, now I just saw lightning, and there's no storm. It's weird. It's creepy. I don't know what's going on. I don't like it. Get back. And, so we head down in the valley, and that is not the button I pushed. We meet up with these, creatures called, Holy crap, there's a lot of zombies here. Ah. There's a lot of zombies with helmets here. Ah. Good thing I put down that bed. I got stuck there. Yeah, we go down the valley. We meet these things called Arakokra, I think they're called. I don't know. Every time now the sky's a little weird. Oh, it's zombie day. No wonder why things are all strange. I'm gonna have to get someplace safe for zombie night here, it looks like. Oh no. Where's my stuff, game? It stole my stuff. Seriously? Oh, my sniper rifle! Dang it, all my stuff is gone. Oh, wait. That appears to be back. There it is. Okay. Whew. It wasn't there. It was not a blue bag on my map. That is not where I died. So oof. That was nerve-wracking, to say the least. I thought all my stuff was gone. I was gonna cry. Okay. Oh, those are zombies. Where'd they go to? Why do you guys always gotta fall with your head in the blocks? Yeah, I thought that was the copper in there. Oh, here they come again. Switch weapons, please. I don't like this guy at all. Spinning around in circles. He's the one that got me killed last time. These fast zombies suck. Come on, I need to use this. Alright, now, let's see if we can get off of this copper I killed. Nothing. That's what I got. Nothing. I was hoping for a little better than that, copper. I don't know why I'm calling him copper. That's... Oh. Did that say rocket launcher? I've just picked up an actual rocket launcher. So anyways... Probably shouldn't have done that yet. I'm not ready to stop. So, yeah, we go talk to these bird people. They kind of tell us what's going on. There's elemental evil, and it's destabilizing nature, and there's 4 elemental cults, and I wonder if we can make that jump upwards. The answer is no. The answer is no. And so we yeah, so we have a vague idea of what's happening now. I mean, I knew what was going on anyways. I looked at the book, and so yeah, we clear out another small group of air cultists, and but we find a door that requires 4 pieces to unlock, which is not in the book. And I really don't understand his desire for us not to clear out these temples. That's the whole point of the game. So I don't know why he doesn't let us go down in there and do it. I feel like we're probably strong enough to take out the temples. But he won't even let us enter the temples. And so we have to leave the valley. We go back to the stupid town he wants us to go to. He gives us 2 pieces of information that we could have got from anywhere else. Location, where we were already just at, like the next valley over from the valley we were exploring, is where we wound up going next. And so we had to go to town and then go back to where we just came from. And we learned the location of the water people. But we kind of already knew the location of the water people from something we'd done before. And so that was our Tuesday session. And a lot of it was taken up by chit-chatting in town for no reason, and chit-chatting with oh, there was a fight with some gnolls that wasn't a big deal. So then Wednesday night we get started, and we head to the fire cult, where we believe the fire cult is meeting. We haven't really dealt with these guys, except for one time they ambushed us right when we started playing this adventure. And so we go to this mountain, and apparently they're there doing some kind of ritual involving a Wicker Man, and they've invited a bunch of druids there to test the druids to see if they wanted to be members of the fire cult. And so I hadn't really paid much attention before, but I was looking at my stats, and yeah, I know I should be paying attention to my stats. But I have really good insight check levels on my cleric. And so when I roll a d20, I get to add 7 to my roll for insight checks. And insight checks are used to determine how a creature's feeling. A lot of times it's used to determine if they're lying. Like if they roll deception, you roll insight to see if your guy can tell they're lying. And so... Did that say it was... Yeah, it says unlocked. I'm pushing the wrong button. Alright, this will probably be where I hang out for the evening then. Once it goes dark. So, yeah, so we go on from that, and we go to this mountain. And first place we get in there is, it's a bunch of little camps. And so we go to the first camp, and it feels like a campground, basically, only it goes up the side of a mountain. And so the first camp we come to has got 4 dudes and 2 elk. And the elk are loose, just standing there chatting. Well, they're not chatting, but just in their camp. And so like, okay, these are druids. After we talked to them, we discovered they're druids. And so we talked to them a little bit. And this is a reoccurring conversation we have. We chat, and we eventually steer the conversation to why they're here and what they think about the ritual. And so, because these first guys said, we're here to witness this ritual that's supposed to bring balance to nature and put everything back the way it's supposed to be. And so, I insight check that, they come away, I do really good, and the DM says, yeah, they just, you know, from your insight check, you can, you know, basically tell they're druids. And I'm like, I rolled a 27, what was it, 27? 24, I think, on this insight check. I already know what they look like. I want to know if my guy feels like they're lying when he asked about if they're here to fix what's going wrong with nature. And he's like, oh. Why else would I don't care if they look like druids. That's not what an insight check's for. I want to know what they're feeling. I want to know if they're lying. I wouldn't run the insight check, or ask to insight check them, if a perception would let me know if they look like druids or not. I'm not percepting, I'm inciting. And so, so we decided these guys were probably druids. They seemed friendly. They offered to let us stay with them. Later we discovered that definitely there's a difference between... I don't know what that is, but that sounds horrible. Definitely a difference between the druids and the not druids. Is that you, pig? Oh, is that you? Dude, you sound horrible. Hey, look out, pig. And, so... So we fight with those guys a little bit, or no, we talk with those guys a little bit, and then we move on to the next camp. So the next camp, there's 2 druids, but these guys have a bear with them, and the bear, wow. Are you dead yet? Because I hit you enough times to kill a horse. I guess I don't know how many times you'd have to hit a horse to kill it. That'd be a weird thing to do. But yeah, so we just we kept we talked to these guys, and in the middle of our conversation, I ask if they're druids, why do they have their bear tied up? Because, you know, druids just have their animals like loose and free, and they just have them out loose. They speak with animals, they're friends with animals, they can summon animals. You know, all the things that a druid would do in this game. And so I found it odd that they had their bear tied up. Now the only thing at this point that I had looked at from the book was the map, just because I have a hard time understanding the descriptions we get sometimes. And because they change often after we make our decisions, and I would prefer to look at a map. And so we move into we see this bear, it's tied up. I ask them why they've got their bear tied up. They throw a fireball at us. That's their response. They were talking, and then they threw a fireball at us. Now they have no reason to actually attack us. They, you know, they're actually there trying to, what we gathered from what was going on. They're trying to determine if people are. Hey, I just looked that direction. Better take some painkillers here. I'm gonna have to get back to the. I'm not gonna be able to finish this. This store actually. I've got 20 game minutes here to. Get safe before it goes dark. So we better get back over to my decided hidey hole here. Wherever that's at. Over here. So, yeah, so we have to fight those guys, because obviously they don't like us. They threw a fireball at us. And, so we kill them, and then we go back and we tell the druids what's going on and why we're there and what we've discovered, and tell them they should probably get out of here. And so they decide to pack up and leave. They actually come running when they hear the commotion, because that's how this place is. They're all really close camps, and so every person in the next camp will come as reinforcements. But they're not all friendly to each other. And so then they leave. We talk to the next group. They're werewolves. We don't know it at the time, but they're werewolves, and they don't want to talk to anybody, which is very weird that they're in the middle of the whole thing, but they don't want to talk to anybody. So we leave them. We go to the next camp. We start down our questioning, and we run our insight checks, and he says they look like druids to you. I'm once again trying to determine if they're lying to me based on the questions I'm asking. I don't care what they look like. I want to know how they're responding to our questions. And so he has me roll a perception check to see if I can see what the guy I'm talking to is doing. Yep, and now it's horrible time. And, oh, I can't change the sitting on it. Oh man. nice doing this, but man, I do enjoy this. Alright, that's enough mana. You know, I probably do have enough crossbow bolts, though. Those don't go out of style. And so, yeah, so we're talking with them. I edge my assassin over to the person we're talking to because they seem suspicious. And then our sorcerer also rolls to the point where he's... Well, my cleric sees this person's suspicious and motions to the assassin to move closer, and so the assassin moves closer. The sorcerer also rolls good enough to see this suspicious things this person is doing with their hands. I guess they were motioning the water cult symbol to see if we were a member of the water cults. And so he said the longer we talked to them, the more nervous they got. And so the sorcerer grabbed him to talk to him, and so I'm like, my assassin pulls her dagger and puts it to his throat. Not the sorcerer, the cultist we're talking to. We asked a few more questions. We knew where the water cult is based out of, so we asked if that was where they were from. They said they'd never heard of it, but apparently we were told we could tell they were lying, and so I'm like, yeah, my assassin slits his throat. And because we're not dealing with these cults anymore. They have tried to kill us every time. So I can't imagine there's a good version of these cults, since we were told by the Aarakocra that they're all evil. So I'm done playing games, especially since the fire guys just want to throw fireballs at us immediately every time we try to talk to them. And so we deal with. We do that. Well, I say that, and then the DM's like, well, we're going to take a break here, and so when we come back, you can get your surprise attack in. Like, all right. And so we take a break. He comes back, and he goes, all right, so while we were on break, I looked it up. He's got some spells he's going to cast to block your attack. I'm like, no, you said it was the surprise round, though, man. You can't take actions or reactions during a surprise round. It's like, oh, yeah, I forgot that. Go ahead and do your attack. And then once you've done your attack, we'll roll for initiative because combat will have started. I'm like, yep. So do my attack. We roll for initiative. My assassin rolls higher than everybody, and so immediately gets to take her normal turn after her sneak attack and kills the water priest. He is not happy because the water priest didn't even get to... That actually happened to him a couple times that night. So the other guys, we tell them to run. They start freaking out that we killed somebody. We told them that they were evil cultists and that we're from the Order of the Gauntlet and the Emerald Enclave, which are, one's a druid group and one's just a general like warrior group who goes around and hunts down things like evil cults. So it's not that we don't have authority to be doing this. And so anyways, they fled and screaming that we were killing people. Nobody came, so I don't know. And then we moved on to the next section, and apparently bugbears had moved in and were killing the druids. So we killed them. And then we came back, and then we tried to talk to the two guys that we didn't know were werewolves. And they refused to talk to us and interrupted me while I was talking. And I told the DM, I'm like, hey man, let me finish what I'm saying. And he's like, and then I finished what I was saying. And he's like, because you told them to shut up while you were talking, they have turned into werewolves and are attacking you. And so they attacked, and then we got to roll initiative, and we fought them and killed them. We went to the next place. Those people turned out to be cultists. They attacked us during our conversation. The next person we got to was okay, and so that was everybody except for the top of the area. So at the top of the area, there's a giant 20-foot tall wicker man that's on fire. There's a couple of priests standing there, fire priests, looking at this wicker man on fire. We try to sneak up to him. We make noise. I'd gotten a hat of vermin earlier in the evening, and so the DM says, they can't see you because you're behind a wall, but they heard you. And so one of them says, what was that noise? And they start walking toward the wall. And so I'm like, alright, I use my hat of vermin, I summon a rat, and I shove it through a hole in the wall, because they're all kind of broken down rubble, the walls and the tower. There's a big tower that's in rubble, like breaking down, and it's surrounded by scaffolding and stuff. And so he does whatever he does and decides that, yes, they believe the rat is what made the noise. And then the sorcerer, after they leave and they're looking at the Wicker Man again, we're behind them. The sorcerer stands up to cast a spell, and the DM makes him roll stealth to see if he can stand up quietly, I guess. He fails because we have critical... I don't know. He does weird things with the numbers. We have critical success and failures on ability checks. Which isn't the way the game is supposed to be run. Some people do run it that way. I don't like it because it takes away from some abilities, and it's really stupid for... I have a plus 11 to stealth, so if I roll a 19, that's a 30, but someone might have a plus 7 to stealth. And so if they roll a 20, he counts it as a 30, so then they get a 37, which beats my 30 with my plus 11, which is higher score than what they had and should have been okay, but he doesn't care. It does the same thing with 1s, so like my 1 is actually a 12 stealth, and he still counts that as a 1 or a 0 or whatever. And not only that, but you usually make noise. It's not even just that you failed to do whatever it is. You break it, you drop things. It's dumb. I hate it. Anyways, so the sorcerer gets caught. They attack us. One of the 2 priests gets stunned. The other one starts to finish the ritual to awaken the fire elemental that's inside. Now, we don't know what's going on. They're just standing next to this wicker giant, and they, the one priest says, awaken and cleanse this mountain of our enemies, or something like that. And nothing happens. And so we go on taking our turn, and they say it again, and then they survive the first round of combat with us. And then on their turn again, they say it again, only they rolled high enough that they basically got to go first, and so we have to take our entire turn. And when he brings out the fire elemental, he rolled a 3 for its initiative, which means it goes last. And so my cleric, I immediately turn and attack the fire elemental because the priest is almost dead. And the fire elemental, I think, is going to be tough. I don't know. I haven't fought one before. I haven't really looked at its stats or anything. I don't know that much about them. I've seen someone control a fire elemental, so I know a little bit what they can do, but I don't know anything about it. I don't know how many hit points they have or anything like that. So I do a melee spell attack, which means I have to physically strike the creature. And so he's like, I wonder if you should take damage from touching it. I'm like, well, is that what it says? He's like, well, no. It says that when you occupy the same space, you take damage. I'm like, well, that's the... He's seen the same thing I have, so he knows what it's talking about. And I'm like, dude, that's when they occupy the same square you're on, you take damage because they're basically on top of you. That's not when you attack them. He's like, yeah, but I'm still trying to decide if you should take damage from hitting them. I'm like, well, that's not the rules. That's not in the rules, right? It doesn't have a fire shield or anything. He's like, no, it doesn't say you take damage when you hit it, but I feel like if you're going to cast a spell on it, you're going to stick your arm into it. I'm like, yeah, but it's like punching it. I'm like, so when your monk goes up and hits him with his attacks, is that going to cause damage, well, that ends it right there, because his character can't take damage, so there's no melee, there's no fire shield on it at that point. And so he doesn't attack it anyways with his monk, he attacks the priest, he takes the priest out, while my assassin and my cleric kill the fire elemental. The sorcerer tried, but he missed with his spell attack on the fire elemental. And so it goes down, and it's the middle of my turn, and I got one attack. My cleric can take 2 attacks, or he's got some bonus spells he could cast. And so he did his attack, he did his movement, but he still got his bonus action. And so I'm like, I can see some more guys on the map here. Can I see those from where I'm at? Because I thought, hey, I'll just cast a bonus attack spell on him. And he's like, oh, I forgot those guys were there. And so then he rolls their initiative and then takes a turn with them during my turn. And the sorcerer is like, why are they going during our turn? And he's like, because I forgot about them. And he's like, well, shouldn't they just start a new encounter or something? He's like, no, we're just going to add them to this encounter and they're going to go now. And he's like, well, the cleric wasn't done with his turn after. He's like, yeah, whatever. And so he's like, this guy does this, and these two do this, and then we're like, he finishes with them, and he's like, okay, so now we're just gonna pick up where we left off. So go ahead and take your turn, to my cleric. And I'm like, so am I just picking up at my bonus action since you did all that in the middle of my turn, or am I taking a new turn? Is your monk going to go? Because he actually has a higher roll than they had. I don't understand what's happening here. And he's like, look, just take a new turn then. Just take a new turn. I'm like, well, I wasn't done with my last turn, so I didn't know where we were at on the initiative roll. I want to know if I was finishing my turn or what. And Sorcerer's like, yeah, you took your turn in the middle of his turn. He's like, well, it was an accident. I forgot those guys were there. And I'm like, whatever, so what am I doing here? So he's like, just take a new turn. So I took my new turn. We killed him. It wasn't a big deal. And then I asked him, oh man, I shot through all my arrows. I was just so busy shooting at those zombies. And so, yeah, we, 15 points. I got 43 points. Yeah, I definitely need to put points into these. Gunsmithing is still... Armor crafting would probably be nice. And I've only got 4 points left. But hey, you know what? I bet I've got enough stuff to make another... I don't have enough stuff to make a spike club. Oh man, I've only got 1 forged iron left. That sucks. I need more forged iron. Anyways, let me finish my story here real quick, because I'm way over my normal time. So, he starts describing the tower, how it's broke down, how there's two crossbow guys on the tower who should have been firing at us this entire time. He's like, they got scared and ran inside. That's why they weren't here during the fight. I'm like, okay. And he described the tower and said that it was cracked and scaffolding around it, and there's rubble coming out of it. And so I'm like, okay. So we've basically cleared everything except this tower, and this tower is looking pretty rickety. And so I turned to the sorcerer and I'm like, you want to see if we can knock it down with everybody inside instead of fighting our way up through it? And he's like, yeah, I think we want to do that. And the DM goes, yeah, I'm not figuring that out tonight. I'm too tired to try and figure out that kind of stuff, so we're just going to end it here. I'll figure out your XP and that's it. We're just done for tonight. And I'm like, okay. And the sorcerer is like, can we at least investigate the bodies that we loot the bodies? That we dropped. It's like, fine, just roll your investigation checks and we'll see what you get. So we got like 5 gold apiece or something. And so then he's like, alright, so let me figure out what you get for XP. And so I'm like, all right, well, let me see if I can remember all the kills. And so me and the sorcerer start trying to figure out what we've killed that night to help him. And he's like, yeah, I put extra things in there for you to fight, but I'm just gonna give you what's in the book. And we're like, what? And he's like, yeah, there were some extra guys, but I'll just give you what's listed in the book. Like, wait, you made us fight extra things and we don't XP for them again? And like, well, what about the guys we didn't kill or the guys that we freed? Because we did some of that too. And he's like, whatever. And so we counted it up and told him what the numbers were and who we freed and all that. And so he gave us XP, but would not progress the game. So we're assuming that next time when we go to play, that tower will suddenly no longer be rickety and will be too strong for us to even attempt to knock down. Because, you know, things change from week to week, from description to description, from turn to turn in description. I'll do one really quick thing here, and then I'll call it. But I remember way back when we first were getting started, and one of the NPCs was friendly to us and gave us jobs, and then the next week was really angry with us, and we didn't know why because we hadn't done anything. And so we thought maybe she'd been taken over by a bad guy or something, and so tried to break into her office to figure out what's going on with her. And he described her office as having a desk with 2 drawers, one on the left and one on the right. And I asked him which ones were, if they were locked, and he said, yeah, they were locked. And so then he said a guard was coming, and so I'm like, well, I locked the office door then, and roll stealth so he doesn't see me close the door, and lock the door with my lock picks, and then go back to the desk. And he's like, so which drawer do you choose? And I'm like, and they're both locked. He's like, well, there are 3 drawers, one on the left, one on the right, and one in the middle. Which one do you choose? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to pick the lock. And he's like, yeah, just choose one of the 3. I'm like, okay, I'll choose the middle one that wasn't there before. And so he's like, it's not locked, and it's just full of blank papers. And that's all the time you have, or else you're going to have to fight the guard as he breaks into the room. And I'm like, fine. So I just left. Obviously we weren't allowed to get any information out of the character. In fact, not only were we not allowed to get information out of the character, but we jokingly said we were going to confront her and fight her, and he killed her off so that we couldn't talk to her again after that. He told us he killed her off so we couldn't talk to her again. Yeah. I didn't have a big issue last night, but our sorcerer, man, he sent me a message and said that he was getting salty about all the stuff that was going on last night in our D&D thing. I was like, yeah, no, like, just kind of roll with this stuff now. There isn't, other than that thing on Tuesday night with the hippogriff where he's like, I'm going to retcon and get rid of the hippogriffs that I told you were there. That was the only thing that I really was just like, no, I'm not dealing with that. So, all right, with that, I am going to call it a scary zombie evening. So click like you like, subscribe, share, and catch the next one. I will talk to you later.